You! Welcome back to Tasha's Heirloom Table. Continuing our pound cake series today, and again wearing my Christmas apron because, we're still celebrating Christmas in July. We are baking Christmas memories. Christmas in July memories, that is. Today's recipe is a flavored pound cake. So most of these I would say are flavored because they're lemon, although there is a specific lemon pound cake coming and the recipe is a little different. So we'll see. But today's pound cake is a coconut pound cake. And the main pound cake lover in this house, which is my husband, doesn't like coconut. So he will be disappointed. But we are going to make this coconut pound cake. This recipe is written in my grandmother's handwriting. It is from her friend Sandra. And so let me show you that. Okay. And like the other recipes, this has 5 ingredients in it. However, it does have different eggs, different flour, different sugar amounts. It does not have baking soda or salt or baking powder. It doesn't have vanilla because it's coconut, I guess. And it has a little bit of it's not a glaze, but you pull it out of the oven and you pour a syrup on it. So my mom has had this recipe or this cake and she says it is so good. So I'm really excited to make it. Give it a try. Okay, first we are going to start with 2 sticks. It says oleo, but like in our other recipes, we're using butter instead of oleo. And 2 cups of sugar. So I've done 400 grams of sugar in this bowl. And we are going to cream these together for about probably 5 to 7 minutes until it's light and fluffy. So we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, we're going to call that good and creamed. It is very light in color, very creamy, very whipped looking. It has no instructions on here. So my guess is these ladies just kind of knew the basics of pound cakes and they decided to just write the ingredients down because they knew what steps they needed to take. So we're just going to go off basic baking knowledge here, which is what we've been doing for most of these because there's no instructions on a lot of them. Okay, I did use room temperature butter in here. I've got my eggs that have been sitting out for a while, room temperature eggs. This calls for 6 eggs. It does say to add 1 at a time and beating well after each egg is added. So let's do that. Okay, this calls next for 2 cups of flour. It does not say sifted. So again, my friends, if you know why we sift flour, please enlighten me. I guess I could go Google it or something, but I'd rather hear from my old baking friends. So we're going to add 2 cups of flour to this, and I'll turn it on slow. We're just going to mix until incorporated. Okay. Yeah. Usually I have a little towel here to wipe off with, but that looks great. The next step, and this is where I did have to do a little bit of research, is you add 1 small can of coconut. Well, the several grocery stores I looked at here did not have canned coconut. So I did have to ask Google, and a small can of coconut would have had 3.5 ounces of sweetened coconut. And so I just bought a bag of sweetened coconut. So it's calling for 3.5 is what we're doing. Hopefully it's right. 3.5 ounces of canned or sweetened coconut. And then just mix that in. Okay, and I'll do the rest of I'll make sure it's all incorporated with this spatula because I don't want to overmix this. I know, sorry, watching me clean these things off with this is probably the most frustrating thing for some of you experienced bakers. I know there's probably an easier way, and maybe just using my fingers because, well, but I'm not going to do it. I'm making you sit through it. Okay. Get it all off the sides here. I am going to use my new fancy bowl scraper spatula today because I cleaned my bowl with it after I spooned or I put the cake in last video, and it cleaned the sides of this so well. I think it'll do really good. Okay, I've already floured or greased and floured this bundt pan, and so we're going to put this in here. This may be better for just the cleanup after I've scooped it all out. I don't know. I haven't decided my best method for using this. It does scoop it out nicely though. So, okay, well maybe now I got a big glop there on the side, which is what I was trying not to do. What's so interesting to me is the last pound cake we did had also 2 cups of flour, I think. Don't quote me on that. But this one looks like a lot more batter. Maybe because of the coconut. I don't know if I'm actually saving much more batter here using this, but okay. I mean, it comes pretty clean. I'd rather get most of it in the pan than, you know, down my drain. Which, if you live in an older house, you probably understand the reference to that, because we don't want to send a lot of things down that drain. Our pipes, you know, they just don't enjoy a lot of sticky things, like batter. They prefer just, you know, things that flow smooth. Okay. Still gonna have to get my finger dirty here. So I was deciding before I started this video today that pound cakes are great just standby recipe because they have 5 ingredients and most people will have those things in their house. Most of you will have flour, sugar, butter, and eggs. And then you just need a flavor. So if you have those 4 things standard in your home, you can knock out a pound cake just about any time. Depending on how many eggs it calls for. Like today's pound cake called for 6, and that was exactly how many eggs I had because I did not check that before I started. Yeah. Smart. I did have to go to the store and get coconut, but I did not check how many eggs. So, you know, if you do that, you're not alone. Okay. Let's get this in the oven. I am sticking this in a 350-degree oven for 1 hour. So let's get it in here. I am pretty impressed with my oven here that it has cooked these pretty close to the time it has said to cook it for. Okay, let me give you a close-up of this recipe card so you can see. That is Mimo's handwriting. That's the one thing I just super love about this whole series and this channel is revisiting these cards that have specifically my grandmother's handwriting because, you know, it's my grandma. She's my Mimo. And I did bake with her. So that is fun to go back to these cards. But to also have my mom's grandmother, her on both sides, her cards, and she likes to look at those and be like, yeah, that's so-and-so's handwriting. So it's fun. Even though this isn't exactly Mimo's recipe, she probably made it several times and she wrote it down from her friend. So it's really fun. All right, we'll see you in a few minutes to make our syrup and pull that out of the oven. I just pulled the cake out. It cooked or baked, sorry, about 54 minutes. And now I'm making the syrup on the stove. I know you can't see it, sorry, but you will be able to see me pouring it on that cake. Anyway, it is a cup of sugar and half a cup of water. And it just says to bring this to a boil. You're supposed to pour this over that cake while it's hot. So this is just about to boil, and then we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract, which this smells so good. It makes me think of the beach. Nice day at the beach, some suntan lotion. Okay. This is boiling, so we're going to add this extract. Let's scoot over even more so you can see. 1.5 teaspoons. I mean, it kind of did like a little fizzy thing when I added this. It's weird. Okay. Now it says to pour this over the hot cake. This is a lot of liquid, but here we go. I mean, this cake is going to soak in all of this syrup. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so good. It's so much liquid. Okay, it says to let cool before taking it out of the pan. So it's going to stay in that pan until it is cooled off. It came out. I wasn't sure because it didn't come out the first time I turned it over. I was a little worried because it tells you to leave it in the pan until it's cool, and that made me nervous. But look how pretty this is. I mean, it smells so good. It smells a lot like coconut because, well, it's coconut pound cake, so that makes sense. I'm excited to try it. I did, when I was taking it out of the bundt pan, I had to go around the edges a little bit and around the center, and then give it a little kind tap on the bottom, and then it came out. So I can feel when I'm cutting it, the texture of that coconut in there. Oh, but that's pretty. That is very pretty. That, you can see the texture of that. So pretty. It's a nice yellow color. Let's sneak a little bite there. I'm gonna towel over here to wipe my hands on. Okay. The little mini taste was really, really good. Okay, the outside of most of our pound cakes has had a nice crunch. I think because the syrup went on it, this one doesn't feel as crunchy, but I mean, you don't need that. That's good. Bursting with coconut flavor. This is a standalone cake. You do not need anything else with this. It's pretty sweet, so I think anything with it would be too much. You can taste the texture of the coconut, so if that bothers you, this may not be your favorite cake. But wow, 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 that is good. To me, because I do like coconut, that's up there. That, I don't know that it takes the #1 spot, but it is. And because it's a flavored, kind of like the chocolate, you know, those almost go in their own category. But because it is a pound cake, we're keeping it in the pound cake series. But man, coconut pound cake, so good. Make this. And not and, I don't know why I said that. The recipe is in the description of this video. So if you do want to make it, you can go there and easily check it out. If you've seen something in this video that you like, why don't you comment and tell me about it? Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you're alerted each week when a new video drops. And this is 5 or 6 of our pound cake series, and we have 3 more left after this. So 3 more pound cakes. Who knew there would be so many pound cakes in one recipe box? But here we are. We're gonna make all of them. We're gonna keep probably most of them, except for poor Hazel. Hazel's pound cake was just sad. So if you haven't seen that one and you want to watch a disaster, go watch Hazel's pound cake video. All right, I'll see you next time on Tasha's Heirloom Table.